right, guys, welcome back. Man, if you remember a show I did about a month ago talking about gateway horror, well, this is part two on one of the biggest gateways when it comes to me getting into horror movies and just the love for horror in general is going to come from what we're going to talk about today, but I haven't come alone. I have brought a special guest with me. You guys may or may not know this man, but this is Joe Testa. Joe, welcome to the show, man.
Garrett, thanks so much for having me, man. I was telling you earlier, this is a little surreal. Usually around this time, I'm coming home from work. I'm sitting on the couch. I put on YouTube on my TV and I want to see what does Garrett have going on today. So being on the show, this is a trip, man. Thanks so much.
Dude, no, I'm happy to have you. First time on the show. Again, I came across you. I mean, we'll talk about how you found me, how I found you, but for some reason I feel like I really noticed you on TikTok, and I don't even spend a lot of time on TikTok. Like, I have TikTok, I'll post here and there on TikTok. I found that like my TikTok randomly like exploded for some reason. Like, I've got more subs on TikTok than I do any other platform, and I literally spend the least amount of time on that platform. And I think I came across yours somewhere, and you were talking about some things. I was like, oh man, like this guy seems like a nice dude, super knowledgeable. And he's talking about all the shit I like. And one of the things we're going to talk about today, you did a video on. And when I wanted to do this, I said, man, I got to reach out to Joe because he knows about this stuff. He's got some of this stuff, which I don't. So that's what we're going to talk about. But man, like, how did we connect? Was it from there? Was it Instagram? I really don't remember.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I'm not positive either. But yeah, I feel like I've been watching your YouTube channel for maybe at least a year now.
Wow. Okay.
And maybe just a comment here or there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm not sure how it all went down. But, as far as like, platforms, I am so completely ignorant to it all. Like, I record things, I post, I ghost, like, I have a very small following too. So,
but it's again, like your stuff keeps popping up on my stuff. So, I mean, it's obviously it's getting out there, unless it's because I'm watching it. But like, I mean, I see your stuff all the time. If I go on TikTok, I really don't even spend a lot of time on there. I'll post and then I'll scroll like a couple while like my thing's loading. Because sometimes I've learned that like if I leave and then I'll come back, it like wouldn't have finished loading and then it doesn't pop up. So sometimes I'll just kind of scroll while my stuff's loading, and I always seem to come across your stuff. Is that where you're primarily at? Or, I mean, I know you're on Instagram, but I mean, where are you doing most of your content now?
Yeah, I'm pretty inconsistent. Like, my Instagram is mostly just me doing touristy stuff in LA. Which is usually horror related. So if you're into the kind of stuff me and you are into, my Instagram might be worth checking out. I started on YouTube maybe a couple of years ago and just kind of got burnt out on the long form videos. And that's kind of why I went to TikTok, just these 30-second kind of off the cuff videos showing off some of the stuff you see behind me, a lot of the stuff from my childhood, just a quick thoughts on movies. And I found that just so much more fun. And so TikToks and then I'll take them and I'll put them on YouTube. Is it real? No, YouTube Shorts. I told you I'm very, I don't even know the proper term.
Now, where have you seen majority of growth? Is it where you're spending the most time, or do you kind of like, oh, it was picking up here? I'm just curious, like what are the content creators doing, what they're liking?
I mean, I check in on YouTube every now and then, and not much of anything going on there.
It's all such a different animal. It really is, like all of it, and that's what makes it so hard. And I try to explain to people, like, to do consistent content, I give it up to everybody that does, because it literally becomes like a part-time job in a sense to try to maintain all the different platforms, stay consistent. As soon as you're inconsistent on one area, it kind of like bites you in the ass the next time you post, right? So like it's hard. And like you said, then trying to keep up with comments and, not just ghosting comments, it's hard. It really is hard to kind of manage all that, being a creator for sure. But man, like talking about what we wanted to talk about today was these Crestwood House monster books. Now, these are so wild to me because literally I got into like Universal Monsters through these books as a kid. And you know where I found these books? I found these books at my elementary school library. That's where I came across these books, and I would check them out all the time. And that was my introduction to Dracula, the Mummy, Frankenstein, King Kong, Godzilla. Like, it was that I must have been in probably like, I don't know, first, second grade maybe. And these were like just at the school library to pick out. You could choose, you know, Berenstain Bears or, you know, Dracula. Like, I mean, it's so wild that it was there. How did you come across these things?
Same exact way.
What? Like in the school?
Yeah, in my public school elementary library. Absolutely.
It's insane to me to think like that's where these things were. And you know, doing a little research before the show, I come to find out like I think these started in 77. These were produced, some of them. I think there was like a first like maybe 6 books or something. And they actually were given to the classrooms, and it came in a nice box, and all the kids got paperback books, which is wild because I've never even seen a paperback version of these at all. And they also had cassette tapes that you could listen to, I guess. And
Wow.
I came across that just doing research for this show. And the teachers used to read the books, they'd listen to the cassettes, they'd follow along. And, you know, not only were these talking about the movies, but it was also, let's say, the Mummy. They would talk about what mummies are, then the Mummy movie, and then kind of talk about other mummy movies in the book as well. So it's almost like a encyclopedia of mummies or Wikipedia of mummies in these books. It was such a wild concept that like they were getting taught this in school. And maybe that's why these books ended up in all the libraries, because they just were like, you know, from when they came out. I don't know.
So like some teachers were using them as like an educational tool, like,
Correct.
you know, here's mummies, and we could also talk about Egypt. And that's,
Yeah.
I know no teacher in my schools were doing that.
No, not at all. But I mean, I don't know what the age gap is with me. Like I was in elementary school in like the late 80s, early 90s. Like I was there.
Yeah.
So these books were hanging around that library at least probably, you know, 10 years or so, or in those school systems. So
Mhm.
maybe that's why everybody was finding these in their school library, because they were just thrown there from maybe when they were given to them back in the day. I don't know. I don't know many people that have these or talk about these.
Mhm.
That's why I wanted to have you here. But that's what it seems like. It seems like they were given to the schools
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
learn about this stuff.
I think we're right about the same age, because that's when I was in elementary school too. And the video I did on these books really, for me, kind of took off and seemed to unlock a lot of memories for people. And everyone seems to have very similar memories of finding these in their elementary school
Oh, that's
library.
what you found out from a lot of the comments?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Hmm.
It's so cool. And you know what's so funny is like when I got into um more collecting as I got older, I was really kind of trying to find like different things I loved growing up. And you know, I did a video talking about me acquiring Fright Night 2 on DVD, which was like impossible to find. And
Hmm.
I ended up scoring it from like a Blockbuster. I basically like just talked the guy into letting me buy it straight up. You know, and what happened was I remember like looking up these books. And guys, if you don't realize, these books are going for a lot of money. That's why I don't have any. That's why I had Joe on here, because I know he's got a couple to showcase. They're going for big bucks. And I remember saying to myself, like, shit, like, I wonder if there was a way I can get back to that school, see if they're still in the library. Like, I'm talking like 20 years later. I'm like, could they still be in that damn library? Because I would want to go and be like, you don't need these anymore. I'll take these off your hands. But like, I never did. But I thought about it. I was like, could they still be there? I don't know.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, I don't exactly have the varsity squad, but you want me to break them out?
Let's just showcase the ones that you have, and then we'll kind of break down what other ones they had. I think there was 15
Yeah.
total. There was a couple spin-offs later down the road, but yeah, I want to see these things again live and in person. Let's see what you got.
So we have Frankenstein here.
Bro, memories, man. It's pretty good
And
shape though, too.
well, I have a story there. I mean, not really
Okay.
a story. It's more of a mystery. We have the Blob.
Oh, that's so cool they did the Blob.
Mhm. And somehow the deadly mantis gets in there.
That is wild. Now, like when you open that up, are they talking about praying mantises like on the in the first couple pages? Like what are
I
they
mean,
talking
it's all
man?
about just the movie. You know,
Just the
there's
movie,
not
yeah.
a whole lot of educational value here.
And the thing
that
is
would have
too,
been
like these kids are following along. That print's
yeah,
pretty small.
yeah. But they have pictures in them, and it kind of reminds me of, when you did your video on Fright Flicks,
Mhm.
and like me, when I picked up Fright Flicks, I hadn't seen some of those movies. So you're looking at these pictures, and your mind is imagining what this could possibly be about. That's what it was like for some of these movies, although some I had seen. But getting back to these books and the shape they're in. So look, I've had these books as long as I could remember, but I have no memory of getting them, of buying them, of someone buying them
So
for
you don't know
me.
where you got those.
I have no idea, and they are in condition like I just pulled them off the shelf of a bookstore.
Wow. Now, did you have those? Like, do you remember having those like as a kid, like at your in your possession, or did you pick them up like later down the road? You
No,
don't have no
just
record.
as long as I've known, at least since middle school.
Wow.
So, and like when you go on eBay, they are all used library books. I have never seen like a brand, like they all have the library card on the inside,
Were your parents teachers by any chance?
No, no, I have no, I was thinking, I don't ever remember seeing these at stores. I was thinking, did like a Scholastic Book Fair have them?
They could have
Could
maybe.
have, I mean, and it's funny, like they must have only had these because if they had like Dracula or King Kong or something, I wouldn't have gotten
Right,
the
right,
Deadly
right, right.
Nexus. So I don't, for the life of me, I do not remember how I got these. But
I always pray I find them at like a thrift store, but
oh
yeah,
yeah.
and like the bright orange would stand out. I scroll those things
Mhm,
so fast. I'm like, oh, I gotta find these someday. But
mhm.
man, and you know what's interesting too? Like you're living in California. Did you grow up there?
No, I'm from the East Coast.
Oh, you are. That's
Yeah,
where I'm from. Oh, okay. I
yeah,
was gonna say. So I was gonna say, I was like, wow, they would have had them all the way in Cali and
yeah,
on the East Coast. They were in the public libraries.
yeah. No,
Oh,
I grew up in Connecticut.
dude, you're right near me, man. I'm Rhode
Mhm.
Island.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
I figured
Wow.
because you've mentioned the archive on the show, so
Okay.
I figured
Yeah.
you're an East Coast guy. I always make it a point to stop there when I'm back home.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Such a
Mhm.
cool place.
Oh, love it.
Um, but yeah, those books, like, so let's look at some of those pictures. I want to bring back some memories here for
Yeah.
me. Because again, when I was like renting, when I was taking these out, like, I mean, I primarily was staring at those pictures more than anything. Like, I don't think
Mhm.
I was, you know, 7 years old scrolling all those words there, but
Yeah.
but I
Mhm.
remember just being like, I've got to see these movies, like you said, your brain, just completely just goes all over the place. Oh, so cool.
Yeah. I think the only one, I mean, I started my monster horror journey very, very early. Um, so I had seen King Kong, the 1933 version.
Hmm.
And that's kind of one of the first movies I ever remember loving. And that's the one I saw on the shelf. And I remember these books were so popular that the librarian like took them behind her desk and like had to kind of almost raffle them off. Like who
Wow.
who wants Frankenstein this week? And we would all raise our hand. I remember saying King Kong. My hand went up.
What a cool image too. It's like just his face like up against that thing. I remember
Yes.
that vividly. And he was
Mhm.
kind of like the main guy, like on the back of the books and on the
It was the
logo and all that
it was the
stuff.
70s version too. It was the 76 version that was on the cover. Some
Now
of
I'm pretty
the
sure I got into Godzilla before these books. My uncle got me into
yeah.
Godzilla pretty damn young.
Mhm.
So I was aware of him and King Kong, but the other guys, Frankenstein, all them, like this was my first time ever seeing him, like just
Yeah.
like that. And like you said, you guys, like everybody wanted them. When I was in school, I feel like I was the only kid that wanted these things.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was like I was nobody else. I was like getting these things like in like they were like all dusty, like on shelves that no one gave a shit about.
I mean, like, what does that do to your brain? King Kong, I mean, Frankenstein versus the Wolfman. I
Wolfman,
mean,
yeah, man.
that just rewired my brain.
100%.
Um, yeah, Godzilla, I would have had some familiarity with too. And it's funny, you remember the Angry Video Game Nerd?
Of course. Yeah.
He did a video way, way back on these. He
Did
has
he?
a pretty good collection. I mean, probably 15 years ago at least.
Mhm.
He has a pretty good collection, I remember. And I am almost positive in his video, he talks about something that you might remember, because this was like an urban legend before the internet. In either the King Kong or Godzilla book, it says that in the King Kong versus Godzilla movie, that King Kong wins in the American version and that Godzilla wins in the
Oh,
Japanese version, which is totally untrue. But it says, I believe he said it says it in one of these books. And
really?
I'm sure I read that here, and I'm sure I, you know, repeated it as if it was fact for years.
That is so funny. So it is not like there is no alternate cuts anywhere as far as you know?
Well,
I mean,
there is an alternate cut. I mean, there is a Japanese, the King Kong versus Godzilla American movie is a very compromised, different movie than the Japanese version, but the ending is the same. Like King
wait, wait, wait,
Kong.
wait, 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 wait.
Mhm,
So hold on, because that literally was I have my childhood VHS tape right back there of that movie. It
mhm,
was literally my introduction to both those characters as a kid. Um, so I watched that movie about 300 times in my life. Now, what do you? Unless I'm confused. So the
mhm.
version that I have on videotape is from here. Now, what is the Japanese version of that? Like I remember it was supposed to be originally it was supposed to be Frankenstein
Yeah,
versus who?
it was.
Godzilla, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because that's why like King Kong gets electrocuted because it didn't really make sense
Right,
to his character because I think it was supposed to be Frankenstein or
right.
something.
Yeah, there's a whole backstory to that is escaping me. I don't remember if it, and it's crazy backstory. Yeah, that like Dr. Frankenstein was going to create a giant monster. I don't remember if it was going to fight. It was probably going to fight Godzilla, I would imagine, and
Mhm.
somehow they changed it to King Kong. But the Japanese version of King Kong versus Godzilla wasn't commercially available in the US until the Criterion box set on Blu-ray from a few years back.
I don't have that.
Oh, really? I'm shocked.
No. I know, I
Yeah,
never got it because I was like, I in my head, I thought I had everything basically on look at the
yeah,
size of that freaking
I
thing,
know.
dude.
And I got to keep it in my bookshelf, because what do you do with it?
Yeah.
You can't put it with
It's
your
actually
movies.
funny because I'm about to record a video with Christian next week about ridiculous box sets when it comes to like the size and stuff. I got to bring that up. I just don't have it, but that was one of the reasons I never bought it. Is number one, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, and number two,
Yeah.
I in my head thought I had everything in there. So like I was like, oh, I've got all these Blu-rays and DVDs and VHS. I've got to have everything in that set.
Dude, the Godzilla franchise is so confusing. If you want to have everything, and like it like these didn't contain a lot of the English dubs,
See, that
and
that annoys me.
I know. I mean, I think I watched your Godzilla versus Biollante
Oh
video,
yeah,
and you complained about that. And I agree. I agree. When it comes to retro Godzilla movies, I want them as I experienced them as a kid.
Mhm, mhm.
There's something just charming about that.
Now,
Like
why do you think though? Do you think it's just that Criterion's like, well, this is the real pure
I
way to watch these movies? Is that why you think
I
they don't do it?
no, I think it's an issue with Toho,
Mhm.
the company that owns Godzilla. I have no idea what the issue is, but
Sure.
yeah, I think they have a lot of strict rules from what I understand. And yeah, so like I thought once I bought this, oh, I could probably sell off a lot of my other Godzilla Blu-rays, but not if you want to keep the English
Dub.
dubs
Mm.
and certain special features. So I have so much Godzilla stuff, like it's hard to keep track of. But
But it's cool
yes,
because that's just another thing is too, is like we're both huge
mhm,
fans, obviously, of Godzilla and all those movies. And
mhm,
I grew up with those. That was those are the VHS tapes I was collecting as a kid. Was
mhm,
Godzilla.
yeah.
Um, Now does that book have everything?
It has the Showa era, so it's the first Godzilla up until Terror of Mechagodzilla from the 70s.
Okay, yeah. And then it
So
gets into those other ones with like, oh my god, I got all the DVDs over here.
mhm.
I can't see, but yeah, like all those other ones where like they kind of changed how we looked a little bit. He would like kind of modernize them a little. They used a
Yeah,
little more
well, though,
CGI.
yeah,
Like, Tokyo SOS or whatever, right?
Those are down the line. I mean,
Okay, so those aren't even part of that book.
those aren't in here. Yeah,
Okay.
these are my favorites because these are the ones I grew up with from like
Same, like
yeah,
Son of Godzilla and all that.
totally. Those are all in here.
Yeah.
And the Japanese version of King Kong versus Godzilla is on here. And it's a very different movie, but it's the same ending. King Kong wins.
Well, what would you say would be different? I mean, I'm intrigued now to watch this thing because I'm like, I've seen this so many times. I would know right away, like, okay, this is new. This is new.
So the main difference, it's been a while. I'm not popping in King Kong versus Godzilla that often. But the main difference in the American version was you had these news segments. With this American reporter.
where they would say like Godzilla is right here now.
And you'd have like these experts on, telling you Godzilla is like a mutated Tyrannosaurus Rex, and like I think there's
talking about somebody. I think it was a Godzilla or like King Kong. They were like his brain is about this big. Whatever.
Godzilla's brain is the size of like a marble, and King Kong is a thinking animal.
In that?
It's not. No, it's not in the Japanese version. I remember in the American version too, like they bring out like a book of dinosaurs, like they're trying to, like really spoon feed it to the audience. I mean,
I do. You know what? As a kid, you don't think anything of it, but now looking back, you're like, oh yeah, like
I love it. You kidding?
All that weird stuff. Oh my god!
Yeah, I think the Japanese version is it's more of a intentional comedy, where it's very satirical, and I feel like the American version is kind of unintentional comedy.
All the same characters and stuff. More or less. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm interested in checking that out for sure, but because they had on the Godzilla one of these Crestwood books was him fighting King Kong on it. No.
If I'm remembering correctly, it was him.
Oh, was that
Ghidorah.
Yeah, it was
King
Ghidorah. I see him all right here. Yeah. So I'm looking at the lineup right here, and so we've got Frankenstein, which you showed, Dracula, Wolfman, Mad Scientists, King Kong, Godzilla, the Mummy, Deadly Mantis, it came from outer space, Creature from Black Lagoon, Frankenstein meets Wolfman, The Blob, The Murderers on Rue Morgue. That was interesting to have that. The Invisible Man and Phantom of the Opera.
Murders in the Rue Morgue, like that's a wild choice,
right?
I mean, I could see maybe, that's a good Bela Lugosi movie. I could see maybe doing Edgar Allan Poe movies or something like Murders in the Rue Morgue. That is a deep cut,
especially because if these were geared towards kids, right?
Yeah,
it definitely was
strange choice, but these must be a later printing. Because I remember they only had the heavy hitters on the back of the ones I took out of the library when I was a kid. Like they didn't have It Came from Outer Space. Like,
So yeah, because I mean, again, if you had series 1, they wouldn't have even known what was coming, right? So like they must have had a specific pressing. And you know what else I kind of remember, and I could be wrong, but I feel like those look pretty shiny to me, and I almost feel like the ones that I remember were like that different material, almost like a rough like feel to it.
It could be, and it could, like I said, these might be a newer pressing, so maybe they're a different material, but I remember the ones in my school were just so beat up.
Like they almost, you could see the threading coming out of the spine and stuff.
But you probably can't tell. It does look similar. When I'm looking up close, it does look like you could see the threading, but those books, I'm sure they were from probably the late 70s, the ones in my school.
100%. And again, I'm very curious to know if these libraries still have these things wedged in a corner somewhere on a shelf, or they just like got all new stuff. I don't know how elementary school libraries work, if they take things out and bring new things, and I'm sure, but
I'm sure
they lasted a long ass time at my school.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of schools had some kind of book drives or whatever, probably got rid of them, and someone got lucky and put them on eBay.
Yeah, I mean 100%. It's just it's crazy to me that they were a school thing. Like it really, really was. And that I'm curious to see in the comments if people kind of say the same thing. This is where they discovered these things.
Mhm.
But there was also, I guess, a spinoff. When I was looking these up, there was like a spinoff that came out a couple of years later in like 85 called Movie Monsters. They were like the same thing, but they were almost like a purple cover with an orange writing. Have you seen these?
I've seen pictures, and when I've gone on eBay just out of curiosity to see what the prices are like for these, I've seen those too pop up.
Yeah, they
Never
have.
seen them in real life though.
Me either. I never saw them in real life at all. I mean,
Mhm.
I when I looked these up, I saw them and it shows Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula's Daughter, and Tarantula were the ones that they showcased here. I'm not sure if that was kind of all they had. But those are the ones that I saw when I was looking them up earlier. And I think Werewolf of London, maybe,
Mm.
and then Crestwood came out with a couple books in the 90s and it was called Tales of Terror. Did you see these things?
I don't think so.
Dude, it's like Critters, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Alien. Um, it's the same deal, but it's like modernized, like more of like the 80s horror. And I was like, what? I had never seen them. So I went on eBay, and of course, it's like hundreds of dollars for one book.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking up Crestwood horror books right now. You want a
Mhm.
set of 15 of all of them, $5,000 on eBay.
Are
What?
these things moving though? Like, I want to know, are these things moving, or they're just collecting dust?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not sure, but I mean,
I
each
mean,
book, when you look them up, like that Frankenstein, I'm looking it up right now.
yeah.
125 for Frankenstein.
And let me
100.
tell you, I don't mean to brag. Ain't nobody got a one in better shape than this.
You can
I mean,
get good money for
I
that.
don't know where the hell these came from.
That is the wildest part of this
Yeah.
story. Like, how, like, who knows? Yard sale? Like, I don't know. Where
Yeah.
could they have come from?
Yeah. I don't know. What's interesting too is the Wolfman one. I'm looking at it on the screen. It's actually the Werewolf of London on the cover, which I always thought was an interesting choice.
So
Mm.
again, maybe like they said, when you read these books, they go into different movies
Yeah.
around it. Like when you look at any of yours, like Frankenstein, does it
Yeah.
give you more stuff in it, like
Yeah, it's
other
got
movies?
pretty much, I mean, it's got all kinds of things. It's got the monsters,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
you know. So it covers all the
So it's
Universal
the Frankenstein
movies.
encyclopedia. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Gives you the whole thing.
it's like the Cliff Notes. It
Yeah.
has Hammer
That's
Frankenstein. I mean,
wild though.
yeah.
That like it was that important that they're like, oh, let's teach the kids.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, amazing.
And then what? Teach the kids, and then 30 years later, we're sitting here talking about it. That's happening. Which is
Who would have thought?
insane to think about. No, I mean, dude, wait a minute.
Mhm,
It's probably even longer than that, maybe
mhm. Oh, I mean, yeah, like, I
85,
mean,
86, 87.
if
So maybe like 90. So yeah, 35 years, I guess.
unreal. Yeah, I mean, it really kind of shocked me, the response that these got when I posted that video. I mean, just like, I feel like the floodgates opened for some people, brought back so many memories that you know they just hadn't thought about these things in 30 years.
And I'm hoping that's what people get out of this because,
Hmm.
when people bring them up to me, I'm always like, my eyes widen because I don't expect a lot of people to know about these. Like Wes over at Dead Pit, I think he has maybe one, and
Hmm.
he likes them as well. He remembers them as a kid. So much so that we did a line of limited shirts on our store. Look at,
Oh, nice.
so we
Oh,
got
that's
Salem.
amazing. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
That's
so we
so
did all
cool.
different ones. I think we did like a Phantasm, Salem's Lot. So we did like these shirts that would be like fake covers, I
Yeah.
guess, of those books. That we did those like probably like 2 years ago for like a limited run. We've always talked about trying to do more and coming up with the different designs and stuff because it's an easy one. It's just the
Mhm,
orange font with the black and white, image and stuff.
mhm.
So
That's
just
such
goes
a
to
great
show that,
idea.
yeah, how much of a fan of these
Mhm.
things I am. Um, but yeah, I mean,
If you could have one of these, one of any of those titles, what would you go for? Just in case I want to get you a
just
present for having me
oh,
on.
get the hell out of here. Get out of here. Man, I'm looking at him now. Let me see. Man, they bring back so many memories. maybe Wolfman, Creature.
Mhm.
I mean, I can remember getting that cover and seeing that thing for the first time. Creature from the Black Lagoon, Wolfman, Dracula, or Frankenstein. I'd probably say, just because those bring back the most memories. Obviously, King Kong and Godzilla were too. I
Yeah.
don't know, man. I'll take any of those damn
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I'll take the ones I won't take. I don't take Deadly Mantis, Murders, and It Came from Outer Space. I won't take
Yeah.
those. Not that I don't like them, but I just feel like they don't have the same feel as and Mad Scientist. I don't want that one either.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, come on. Like the Deadly Mantis has no business being side by side with Dracula. I mean, come on, no offense. I mean, It Came from Outer Space. I bought the 4K of that like a year or so ago. It's a pretty solid movie, but come on. I
For
mean,
sure. I
like,
really do like the movie too, but I just yeah, like it was those iconic characters that I learned about from these books. And that's kind of when
yeah.
I look at these, that's what I expect,
Hmm.
to see. And
Hmm.
even those newer ones, like the Tales of Terror or whatever, there was one like Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, I looked them up, but they're same thing. Like they're going for like $100 a book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is just wild because I guess they're just kind of a part of history that
Hmm.
you'll never see again. And I'm surprised more people haven't kind of jumped on this, either the look or did some kind of re-release
Hmm.
or something to kind of unlock those memories for a lot of people. And that's why I'm really curious to see how many people come into the comments and remember these, or people that are gonna be like, I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I watched your Fear Street video a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
and I follow a lot of artists on Instagram and stuff that they take more modern horror movies and they give it that Fear Street flavor, or they do that with like EC Comics. They'll put like
Mhm.
Freddy in an EC comic. I don't see anybody kind of taking these and giving it that treatment, which is why that shirt is so cool.
Right, and it's actually
Mhm.
again, it's pretty easy to do. Like Wes from Dead Pit did all of these. We had like
Mhm.
a bunch of them, and it's just find an image, put it in black and white, add the orange font, put the little Crestwood logo in the bottom corner. Boom, you got a shirt. Right, it's
Mhm.
very easy, and it feels super nostalgic. And I wore this once to a convention, and I had a lot of people be like, "What is that?" I remember those books, and
Mhm.
and they actually even thought this was the cover of one of the books, but this never existed. There was no Salem's Lot book. But if there was, it made sense.
Yeah.
Salem's Lot I could see fitting in that mix
Absolutely. I
for
could
sure.
see Salem's Lot before Deadly Mantis. I mean,
Yeah. Definitely.
you know,
Um,
go
Now
ahead.
what are other things that you since you're here,
Mhm.
is there any other big gateway things for you growing up where you're like, "You know what? Like, these couple things is definitely what kinda sparked me to fall in love with horror," and did you find yourself always kind of attracted to the things that are considered monsters or scary? Because I feel like I did, even though I had my
Mhm.
uncle to kinda gear me in that direction. But playing with He-Man, I always liked Skeletor. I always liked, those characters more than like Man at Arms and stuff. I was always into the weird, wacky, scary characters. Is there anything else you remember growing up where you were like, yeah, I was always just drawn to that kind of stuff?
Yeah, man. I think we live the same life, that's
One state over, basically.
yeah, yeah. And I even had an uncle who introduced me to a lot of this stuff
Wow,
too. Yep.
that is
I
so
yeah,
cool.
absolutely. Since we're on the subject of school libraries, these were definitely in my libraries, and I'm almost positive I got these at a book fair, but scary
Hell
stories
yeah,
to tell in the dark. I mean,
hell yeah.
like this to me, these are the ultimate. Especially, I was a kid who loved to draw, and the artwork in these is just like, I mean, like I still like to draw now, and I see the influence to this day. I mean, it's
Those were
just like,
scary ass pictures, man.
yeah,
I mean, and
so
those
good.
were made for kids, right?
Absolutely, and they were controversial. I do know there were attempts to get these taken out of school libraries, but I mean, yeah, these were big ones for me.
I agree. I can remember being at a party, maybe like a birthday party or something. It was like I don't know if it was a sleepover party or whatever, but I can remember we sat down and read them like in the dark with like the flashlight. Everybody would take turns and try to scare each other and stuff. And I can remember doing one, and then some other kids were like outside and like scared us in the window with like masks on and stuff, and we were reading those damn things. And I always found myself drawn to those kind of books. Like
Mhm.
I have a couple right here now that you brought it up, but I mean, like I've showcased this I think on another show I did, but Bunnicula was another book
Oh.
that like was
Mhm.
huge for me as a kid, and it's basically a vampire rabbit. Why this was drawn, I
Mhm.
was drawn to this, I don't know, but
Mhm.
I don't know if it was something about horror or anything like this. This was another one called like the Scary Book,
Mhm.
um, from back in the day. This is another huge one, which kind of is in the same vein as the ones that you have. I actually think it's the same dude who did it. Um, let's see, Alvin Schwartz.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So this had some really scary stories and spooky stories. Have you ever seen this book before?
I don't think so.
Maybe if I show you, maybe
Mhm.
it'll open up some memories for you here. The big one
Yeah.
that everybody always talks about was this image, this one called the Green Ribbon, and it was about a girl who had a ribbon around her neck, and she met a
Mhm.
guy. They got married, and he always wondered, why she had that ribbon. And she got old, and then finally, after she was old, she took the ribbon off, and her head fell off, and that's kind of was holding it on like the whole time
Mhm.
through her whole life. And
Mhm.
really cool stories. It was kind of in the same vein, like I said, of those scary stories to tell in the dark. And I always was a big fan of a book called Miss Nelson Was Missing. I used to read that a lot. Do you remember
Mm.
that one? It was about a teacher whose kids were like being really bad. So she left, and then she brought another substitute teacher in called Viola Swamp. Does that name
I don't
sound
think
familiar to you?
so.
Oh, and then she would look like a witch, and then the kids were scared shitless of her. So a couple days later, the old teacher came back. They were so good, they're like, please don't leave. We'll listen. We'll listen. Then at the end of the book, the teacher's at home in bed, and you see the witch costume like in her closet. Basically, she had done it to like scare the kids straight. Very cool book. Like I think there's three of them. They call like Miss Nelson Is Missing, and those were big for me growing up. And I think they still have them like now,
Mhm.
pretty easily available. But yeah, they had a lot of cool books that were just in the library as kids.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know if they're doing that shit now, at school libraries, but for us, we had all those. And what other ones were cool? Did you ever get those like choose your own adventure ones? They were like white.
I know what you're
Those
talking about,
books?
but not so much.
Those was always a big thing for me too. But man, what else did you get? I know you're a big Fright Flicks fan because you told
Mhm.
me you watched the show and you messaged me and said, "Man, I got Fright Flicks too. I got the binder. I got this." And
Yeah.
it's not many people that have that binder because it's kind of like you got to get it kind of custom done.
Yeah, we must have got it from the same guy. No, because
It's
yours is
gotta be.
very
I'm trying
similar.
to see if mine's even over here. Where the heck is it? Um, so mine's a different one though. I got this one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, very cool. And what's
So
your
is yours
back?
thin like that?
Yeah.
It's got to be the
Yeah,
same dude.
similar. Yeah, yeah, all the posters on the back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
it's very cool to have this because it's somewhere to put these things.
absolutely. Yeah. And I was flipping through these after watching your video, and I don't know if you've ever noticed, I don't think I've ever noticed, but on certain Pumpkinhead cards, the movie is referred to as Vengeance the Demon. I
Oh no,
wonder,
I didn't notice that,
yeah,
but that is funny.
yeah, so card number 7, I wonder if while these are being made, they were going back and forth on what to call Pumpkinhead.
That is, and then which is crazy because when these came out, like
Mhm.
it had to have been right around the time that this thing was released. Then
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, these were a big one for me. I had seen, believe it or not, I had seen most of these movies by the time I got these cards. I probably got them around 92-ish. So they had been around for a while.
so you were watching horror as a kid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like,
So were your parents into it? Is that why? Or
yeah, I mean, I come from a very movie loving family in general. Um, and I also had an older sister who would rent, like, I remember 1989 was just a huge year. I mean, theatrically, I know you're like a big Tim Burton's Batman guy.
Mhm.
So that was going on in theaters. And then I remember my sister like renting things like Shocker and Pet Cemetery. And I mean, the list goes on and on, all the Nightmare on Elm Streets. I don't like to tell these stories because sometimes my mom listens to podcasts I'm on and stuff, and she feels like she was a horrible mother. But
Hey,
I
my mom
was,
does the same thing.
yeah, and
She goes,
yeah,
you never tell the good stuff.
yeah. Well, I was Freddy for Halloween in first grade,
I
and
love it.
so I was, when you did that show talking about like Fear Street and Goosebumps, like that I was the perfect age for that, but I was like, I wasn't interested. I was so beyond that. Like I was trying to read Stephen King.
Right, right.
I was, my wife only recently introduced me to Are You Afraid of the Dark, which is great.
See,
You
so
know,
you never got into that? Oh, because I guess
no,
yeah, right. Because you were watching the real shit, right? Like
yeah,
that was
yeah,
those were like Are You Afraid of the Dark, X-Files, like those were gateways for me
yeah.
to
I
get
watched.
into horror. And then it became my parents were like, then I got into Hitchcock.
Mhm,
And they were kind of like, oh yeah, the Hitchcock's cool. You can watch that. And
yeah.
then it was basically like you can watch any horror movie that's on cable because it was like they just assumed that they'd take all the bad shit out. That was like the next step, and then I would tape them off TV. Which man, I wish I still had those off TV
Oh yeah.
horror movies because like
Mhm,
it's so interesting to see when there's things cut.
mhm.
Obviously, the commercials, and
Yep.
sometimes they even added shit in that like you never saw on like
Mhm,
the VHS tape or anything like that. So
mhm.
I wish I still had all that stuff. But
Yeah.
when I started to move all my stuff and I'm looking through all these tapes, I'm like, nobody cares about recorded off TV stuff. They need you want the real thing, right? And I tossed them all, and I can't
Yeah.
believe it. Those are probably more valuable than the friggin' regular VHS tapes are now.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I hear you, man. But yeah, I mean, by the time I was, you know, like I think this, I feel bad again, like telling this story. I feel bad for my mom, but we went to see Halloween 5 in theaters. I think that was the first horror movie I saw in theaters. So I was like 7.
But I
And
mean, hey, everybody grows up different,
yeah,
you know.
it was around Halloween, and I love this stuff, and saw Freddy's Dead with the 3D glasses with my grandfather. Like me and my grandfather would go to the movies every weekend, and it wasn't just horror movies; it was anything, like anything, and a lot of horror movies though, a lot of horror movies. That poor guy had to sit through Hellraiser 4, Wishmaster. I mean, I love it,
And
but
you never as a kid, you never had nightmares or anything about that kind of shit?
No, not really. There were a few that scared me.
Mhm.
Even to this day, like Pet Cemetery is one I probably won't watch alone.
Mhm.
You know,
It's so interesting to how certain ones can affect
yeah,
people a certain way. Because I didn't watch a lot of like them.
hmm
Here and there, I remember seeing like I think I remember seeing Pet Cemetery at maybe it was on TV, but I did see that one at a younger age.
hmm
But the ones for me that like scared me, I think I did a Rad Pack show on this. Stupid shit, dude. I had nightmares about freaking and it's still hard to watch freaking La Bamba. Like I like I like for weeks I thought I was gonna get in a plane crash. Like I was
Oh, that's
honestly like
funny.
laying in my bed
Yeah,
being like freaking out after watching La Bamba because I'm like, I'm never going on a plane again. Like
yeah, yeah.
that was one. The damn Brady Bunch when they went to Hawaii and like the tarantula was like crawling on the kid. Like I freaked out thinking there was going to be like a tarantula under my bed. I can remember that. No wonder why my parents wouldn't let me watch anything. They're like, this guy's freaking scared of La Bamba and the Brady Bunch. He can't watch it.
You know what was a big one for me? I was very young. I was probably like 5, but Large Marge from Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. I mean that I would, I would hide my eyes from that.
That's a
There were
spooky
certain
scene
moments.
though, man. I mean, it's
Yeah,
tense,
I
tense
mean,
scene.
that's fair. I bet that scared a lot of kids,
Mhm.
but you loved it too. At least I did. I mean, I guess
100%.
that's the difference between us and other other
Yeah.
kids, did you hate that feeling or did you kind of love it? And
Yeah. I mean, what's funny is I never had nightmares from horror movies
mhm.
ever. The ones I had were about stupid movies,
Yeah,
like that I was just saying, like it was like stupid things. I never
yeah.
saw a horror movie or a movie that was scary and been like, oh, like it's wild. But I always was
Mhm,
intrigued by it, obviously because of my uncle, obviously because of things like some of the toys we had as kids. I was always into a lot of those like monster toys.
mhm,
I can remember a kid in first grade or something at recess, and like we were all like playing football or soccer or whatever. And this one kid, Sean, was sitting on the blacktop playing with Universal Monsters toys. Now this is like, and I've even searched for these trying to figure out which the hell these were. Because I remember going over and be like, what is this? Like, and I sat down with them and I was like so envious of these damn things. And it had to have been the late 80s, but they
Were
were like,
they small or were they?
they were big. Yeah.
Was it one like this?
Dude, what the hell? It had to have been. What year did that come out?
So these are a little before my time. I found this at a vintage toy store here in LA. But I remember a kid, like one of my classmates, had these. So these are probably
they have like Dracula, Wolfman, shit like that.
Yeah. They're the same. I'm pretty sure they're the same company that did like this is King Kong. I had.
Dude, I had that.
Yeah.
Wait.
The company's called Imperial. And actually, this Godzilla.
Show me that Godzilla. I bet I had that one too. Is that an old one?
Yeah.
Dude, I had that too. And King Kong. I used to make them fight. Yeah. Damn it.
And there was a really big version of this too that I had. But this one I only recently got because I remember you couldn't buy these in stores. They had gone away by the time, I even knew they existed. So I was really psyched to see this at the vintage toy store.
Is that the same brand? Is that the other guys?
Yeah. These are all from a brand called Imperial, I think. There's got to be a date on this.
Those kind of toys there, if I can remember correctly, I don't remember offhand, but like, were they like one of those things where you'd walk down a toy aisle? They weren't in a package. They were kind of just thrown in with like a tag, right?
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember I used to have it too. It was just like a gold like rope and a tag, and it said King Kong on it.
Yes. Okay. So now, dude, think about how we just put some puzzle pieces together right now. I've been thinking about those damn Universal Monster toys for so long, and I never could figure out when NECA came out with those newer ones. I was like, wonder if they're mimicking the ones that I'm thinking of. They kind of felt the same because they were big. And there was the only articulation, I believe, were the arms and legs. Like there was no joint, like elbow, right? No elbow articulation.
Arms, head, and wrist. Oh no, just arms, and neck.
Kind of like a Ghostbuster figure, like that articulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Dude, that's so wild, man.
So I know they did a Dracula, a mummy, which he also had the mummy. The mummy looks really weird. The mummy looks bad. The mummy, for whatever reason, it isn't like a Boris Karloff mummy or a Lon Chaney Jr. mummy. It's the mummy from Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy, and it looks ridiculous. So I passed it up, but I would love to get the Dracula and Wolfman one someday.
Are those expensive?
I don't think so.
Dude, I can't believe you just unlocked that King Kong memory. I have not thought about that King Kong since I had that King Kong.
This isn't the one I had since I was a kid. It's probably somewhere in storage, but this brings back so many memories, this action figure.
I used to play with him in the sandbox, dude, with my brother, and I used to have him fight that Godzilla over there. That's insane.
Yep.
Wow. Now, a lot of that stuff behind you, is that all stuff like mostly stuff you've acquired as an adult, or is that stuff that you've kept for a long period of time?
It's a mix. I'm always picking up books. And living in LA and in the New York City area before this, space has always been an issue. So, I can't go as wild as I'd like to, but it's a mix. You can't see them, but I have a bunch of my laser discs over there that I've had since I was a teenager. So like I said, I wasn't really interested in like Goosebumps or Fear Street when I was a kid, but when these came out in like 94, I had to grab them. You've probably seen these around. They're like the Freddy Krueger young adult books.
I never had those, but those are sick.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, you're gonna make me want to go on eBay and just buy shit now. Problem is, a lot of this stuff is probably a little too expensive for me, but
I've looked into these. They're not out of control. They made some Michael Myers young adult books, I think a couple of years after this. I wasn't even aware of them at the time, but those are insane. And I also have the Jason ones.
Oh yeah, dude, that's so sick. See, I got nothing of those.
Yeah. These are all from when I was, yeah, probably like 12 or so. So a lot of stuff stayed in storage until I unearthed it, and then
Mhm.
some stuff was lost to time. Um, but I have
Now, did
like,
you have some stuff that you had growing up, like either a teenager or young, that you kind of look back and you're like, man, I wish I still had that?
oh yeah, I mean, you know, I I had a few video store items. I don't know about you, but like when I go to the video store, I would always ask them for like the posters. And they would never give them to me. They said they had to send them back to like, I don't know, the movie studio or wherever. But every once in a while, they would have just a little standee
Oh,
on their desks.
mhm.
And I remember there was a Wes Craven's New Nightmare, like a little cardboard Freddy, so probably this big. And I remember Hellraiser Bloodline had like a pinhead cardboard thing, and they were made of cardboard, so who knows what happened to them. But sometimes I think about those.
Yeah. Do you know what's I now that we talked about the figures and stuff, I don't
Mhm.
bring this up often, but I do every once in a while, and I swear it's either I'm completely delusional or it was very rare, but I can't remember. And I feel like I remember it as clear as day. Like I had to have maybe been 5 or something. I can remember driving down the road with my parents and there was a stoplight. And on the side of the stoplight in my town, there was a video store. Now, at this time, it was probably Major Video, as it was probably called. That's what, and then it turned into Blockbuster later. But I can remember looking in from the street and seeing a Freddy Krueger standee type thing, like with the long arms, like, and it almost looked like he was hanging from the ceiling and his arms were like going like almost across not the whole store, but big. And he was
Mhm.
kind of up on the ceiling. And I
Mhm.
was remember looking and being like, oh my God, like who is that? And my mom's answer was, oh, that's Freddy Fingernails. So for years, like I thought that's who it was. And the biggest thing is I've tried to find that standee of like cardboard cutout video store prop with
Mhm.
two long arms that you could like hang. I've never come across it.
Yeah.
I've talked to people about it. Nobody knows what, nobody can say, oh, I've seen that. Nobody.
Mhm.
So I've tried to put pieces together. What year could that have been? It had to have been for the first movie, I'm thinking, like, but never I've never seen it in my life.
You know what I wish I still had was just pictures of my bedroom growing up, because it was really something. It's nothing compared to like your setup or some of these
But you know what?
some
When
of
you're a
these
kid and
rooms.
you get your bedroom set up a certain way,
Mhm.
it's so much more meaningful, right? Because it's like you kind of worked from like this is like I bought all this
Mhm. Yeah.
before you had to like create stuff, right? It was
And
crazy.
stuff was so hard to come by, like especially horror stuff in the early 90s. Like it just wasn't like today. I mean, I really had to hunt this stuff down. Like, I did have cardboard cutouts of Freddy and Jason. Freddy was from Nightmare 5, and one from Jason Goes to Hell that I got at um it was like it wasn't a rental store. It was a place where you bought your VHS tapes. And
Now,
yeah,
would they sell those, or did you have to ask
yeah,
them for
yeah,
them?
no, this place sold them. And getting like most of my posters were stuff of the time, because you couldn't just go on Amazon and get a Nightmare on Elm Street poster. It was like new stuff. Like I had a Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight poster, and an Interview with the Vampire poster, because that was the time. But every once in a while you would find some just really cool shit in the wild. And that's
Now
the
I'm trying to
best.
like think before eBay and stuff. Like, where
Mhm.
would you have come across those? Like, were those posters? I mean, I don't know if they would have had a Demon Knight poster at like Spencer's when you'd push the thing. Would they, or would
I
they
mean,
be at like a video store, like in a bin rolled up, being like, take these for free?
my mall had at the store where I bought my movies, they would have a lot of movie posters, but again, mostly contemporary stuff,
Mhm.
not throwback stuff. So that's where I would get a lot of stuff. And I was just lucky, you know, in my neighborhood, close enough to ride my bike. I had a bunch of like comic book stores where I could buy my Fangoria every month, where I bought all my trading cards, my Fright Flicks. So I was lucky, I wasn't really in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm. Which part of Connecticut were you from?
It was right outside New Haven.
Okay, so all right, I got you. And
Hmm.
did I see the famous monsters behind you? Is that
Hmm.
something that you've collected a long time? Or are you getting into them? Is that new?
So,
It's my uncle's big thing.
oh
That's why
yeah,
I'm curious.
this was actually a Christmas present from my wife. So I just kind of got this one. It's an old one. It's number 9. So we saw that at when we were away for the holidays at a kind of a secondhand store in Palm Springs around the holidays. So my wife got it for me for Christmas. But yeah, Famous Monsters. I don't know if you remember, but they made like a little bit of a comeback in the '90s, and that's when I started picking it up for a couple of years. So
Well,
I
do
have
you
a
know
bunch.
they're back now? Did you
I
know that?
do, but yeah, I'm not even sure how to get it. You got to like
I
send
think
away
it's
for it.
site exclusives.
Yeah.
But if it's something that you're interested in, I mean, I think
Mhm,
there's only like 3 or 4 right now. I mean,
mhm.
it's like Fangoria. They're a little
Yeah.
pricey, and they're not what we were paying for them. But I mean, it's always kind of fun to start a line because it's
Mhm,
easy to catch up. So I think that there's 3 or 4 right now. If you're a big famous monsters guy, I think
mhm.
one had Phantasm, the other one,
I think I saw
the
one with Skeletor from Masters of the Universe.
Skeletor.
That
Yeah.
looks sick.
Yeah. So I
I'm
was thinking about
Mhm,
kind of trying to start a little collection because I don't have any famous monsters at all. I've never
mhm,
had any. I've had Fangoria, Horror Hound, stuff like that. But my uncle is a huge famous monsters guy
mhm,
to a point where he had the full collection, sold it
mhm,
probably 15 years ago. He reacquired all of them, so he had a
mhm.
full collection again, and then sold it a second time, and now he's trying to get them all again. I'm like, dude, like, and of course now with from 10, 15 years ago till now, prices are more
Yeah.
trying to get
Mhm.
these things, and he's trying to rebuild that collection. And I'm like, how much does that suck to have to have done this three
Oh,
times now? And
that's
he's like, I
brutal.
know, I always sell it, and then I regret it years later.
Mhm.
And then he's like, well, this time they're yours when I'm done. I'm not going to sell these anymore. I'm just going to let me just acquire them, and then you can have the whole thing. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
hell yeah, I'll take
Yeah.
it. So then, of course, when he said that, I'm like, maybe I should start getting these new ones. So in case I acquire that collection, I
Yeah.
can have all these new ones because he's not going to buy the new stuff.
Yeah. I know that feeling though. Like I said, space is always an issue. So I'm always, trying to curate and what could I move out of here to make room for other things. And I have had to double dip a few times on a few different things over the years. But
And part ways with some stuff.
yeah, and then sometimes you regret it. But
Is there good stuff out there like for this kind of stuff like in the LA area? Like, do you go like to thrift or anything where you're like, dude,
mhm,
they've got always got cool shit. They've always got horror VHS. They've always got, because I feel like where I am, it's like bone dry.
mhm.
It's very
Yeah, I
hard to
mean,
find stuff.
there are some very cool there's some very cool stores like that Frankenstein. It comes from a place called INS Collectibles. I mean, full of Masters of the Universe, Star Wars. I mean, really, really cool shit. And then there's Amoeba Records, which is this massive,
Mhm.
music, movie, bookstore. I find I have the best luck with books there. The movies are pricey as movies are now, but I find really cool books dirt cheap there. You know, records have become really pricey too.
Mhm.
That's again, and I have a modest record collection, so that's I try very hard to keep it under control. But there are a lot of little stores dedicated to horror. There's like
That's
little museums and things like
awesome.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, going back and talking about this stuff is just
Mhm.
it's I love it because again, we unlocked a lot of memories today. You got me to go buy that King Kong when we get off this thing tonight. Like, I mean, it's just wild. Like, I literally haven't thought about that in since I was a little kid. And as soon
Yeah.
as you showed it to me, boom, I knew exactly what that was. And the big one was the Crestwood books, guys. And I mean, again, he's got 3 of them right then and there. I mean, he's got that's like $500 worth of stuff right there in his hand at that point for these old books. And I knew I just wanted to talk about these because for him, for me, and I think a lot of people, like he said, when he did a little bit of a video on these things on his TikTok, he got a lot of people come through the comments with their memories unlocked. And that's what I really like about this is I want you guys to interact in the comments and let me know a little bit about, do you remember these? Did you get these at your school library? Because as we know now, it was almost like they were made for that. They were made for these elementary schools. And I guess maybe they just ended up in the library when they didn't know what to do with the extra ones anymore. But it's super cool to go back and talk about these things. And man, I want to thank you for being with me here tonight for the first time, man. This was so much fun. I felt like I've known you for a while. It's the first time we've ever chatted, and it flowed really well, man. So thank you, sir.
Garrett, thank you, man. Like I said, this is surreal. I've been a big fan for a while, and keep doing your thing, man, because I know I don't just speak for myself. You bring a lot of people a lot of entertainment, and I'm sure we all appreciate it. So keep doing your thing,
dude. I appreciate that. Thank you. And you as well. And again, we've talked about it before, and we know how hard it is to kind of keep up with this stuff, but I wouldn't have asked you to be here, man, if I didn't find your stuff entertaining as well. So again, follow him. Tell him where to find you. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram.
Yes.
Joe Testa.
Joe.Testa if you want to follow me on Instagram. The Midnight Program, I think it's called on TikTok. And I think it's just Midnight Program on YouTube. But yeah, you should be able to find me.
Yeah, man. Guys, go check him out. Like I said, he does these cool shorts. That's how I found him, and that's why he's here tonight. Guys, this is Garrett from Born to Be Rad. And like always, stay